So, you say that you're doing these interviews and podcasts and that it's going to be a big thing, but what are you actually trying to accomplish?
What we are trying to do is much bigger than just an assignment. This initiative is a movement, and it almost has nothing to do with me. This is important for all the guys around us. As much as we like to dismiss our emotions, there was a total of 47,511 deaths by suicide recorded in the United States. 69.38% of the total were white males. BBC Features stated it to be the single biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the United Kingdom. And it's the same story in many other countries. Men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide in Australia, 3.5 times more likely in the United States, and even 4 times more likely in countries like Russia and Argentina. So to say that you are okay is false, because by the end of the day, 6 men in Australia alone have fallen with the sun. The goal of this initiative is to change these stats, and that we are slowly spreading this message throughout the school with conversation and one-to-one podcast, and also in groups to create a safe community. And here is one of the podcasts for you to enjoy. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling stuff.
Happy to help, man. Happy to help.
Arguably one of the best teachers in the school right now.
Yeah, it's debatable.
I'd say.
depending on who
No,
you talk to.
at least top 2, I'd say. Other than our teacher right now who's marking.
Oh,
the
yeah,
assignment.
exactly.
Other than that.
Thanks.
Thank you. So yeah, I just want to ask you how you're feeling first off.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, right? Because we're all trying to get through to the end of the quad, and
Yeah.
teachers are working hard. Students are probably working even harder, and we're all trying to manage and push, and all do the best that we can, based on the situation that we're in. So.
Yeah, is there any coping mechanisms you use to deal with the stress or?
Yeah, like coaching volleyball is a great opportunity that it allows me and my players to take all the stress out, whack a few balls here and there, right? Take the anger out on volleyball, and I enjoy reading, taking my dog for a walk, watching a movie with my wife, those sorts of things. It's the little things that allow you to just release and focus. Just taking moments to yourself.
Yeah, I get, especially that working out. I feel like that relieves a lot of stress for me.
Yeah.
Because I see that all the time on social media, and if you know now that social media has a great influence on us as teens, especially.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, as a man yourself, how does that social media or just films in general make you feel, or how you should behave or act?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things in terms of social media, I do not use social media platforms in any way, shape, or form. You can't find me on Facebook, can't find me on the Instagram or anything like that. For me, I really thrive on human connection.
Absolutely.
And I feel that technology, the thing about the technology in these social media platforms is they were made with the best of intentions, and they've really lost control in how people use them.
Absolutely.
So I feel like when it comes to those sorts of things, people use them how they see fit.
Yes.
Depending on how they're doing and how they're feeling, and if you can't take that stress and release it and relieve it in a positive way, then I feel like the social media platforms can be a pretty scary place for people.
Yeah. Absolutely, because before this assignment, right, I didn't really use Instagram or Snapchat.
Yeah.
But for this, I created a platform.
Nice.
I've just been sucked into it. I'm following random people.
Yeah.
It's just hours just go by of just scrolling.
Yeah, and then you sit there at the end of the night and you're like, what did I do with my day today? And you can't think of anything because you just spent it mindlessly scrolling and seeing what other people are doing and what other people are posting. One of the recommendations, do you have Netflix?
I try to use it less, but I watch it here and there.
Yeah, okay. So I highly recommend look up a documentary called The Social Dilemma.
Okay.
Okay, so not The Social Network,
okay.
which is the introduction, or a fabrication, autobiographical representation of the creation of Facebook. That's not it. So Social Dilemma is diving into the anxiety of the people's psyche and what these networks, what these platforms are actually doing to people. So one of the things that I find as well in talking with my students, especially being in the business department and talking with them about it, I'm checking in with them and trying to understand what their goal is with the social networks that they're on and how they're seeing them and using them in a beneficial way for themselves. And a lot of them are struggling to come up with reasons as to why it's beneficial for them. So it's a huge time waster, but it can be beneficial depending on how you use it. Right? If you're creating small group chats and trying to do, different study sessions, especially with exams and stuff coming up, it's a great tool. It's a great mechanism. It's a great way to reach out because people, like the majority of people, have their own cell phone at this point. So it's a great and efficient way to connect with other people. But why are you connecting with them? Right? What is the purpose? Right? So I think if that's clear and it's done in a positive way, then I think then it can be a great tool.
And on social media, like one of the things or phrases that I constantly see, because obviously like as a male you have more male social media, and that's one of the things they do is that they try and show you like posts or images about what you already like, and like they can control that. They're pretty much controlling you. And one thing that I always say is like this phrase of like, just be a man, or just men don't cry. And that phrase, I want to ask you like your opinion on that, because I asked other people and they always said that like they see it, but there's also like some sort of like motivation they get from it, of like seeing like be a man, especially in sports, right? Where you say like kicking a soccer ball, you say stop kicking like a girl and you just kick it harder somehow. And I want to ask you about that phrase.
I think I'm more hopeful at this point in terms of what I'm seeing. In terms of especially women's sports and the noise that it's making, because it's there, it's in your face, and I'm looking specifically at, like you brought up soccer. Well, you see how well our men's national team is doing. A big part of that has been the success of our women's team.
Absolutely.
Right? So it might be, and again, like I'm talking specifically from Canada, right? And I'm seeing a lot of really interesting. Scotiabank is also at the forefront of diversity. So I'm a big hockey fan too, right? So they have advertisements right now in terms of successful people within the game of hockey, and it's a really interesting way in which they portray it, where they're sitting there and they're talking about all of the social media posts that people are saying about judging people by their first appearance or their look, right? So they talk about one of there's a bunch of different types of successful diversity included individuals in the game of hockey. So we're looking at specifically they had Ethan Bear. So a really famous Indigenous hockey player, and really up and coming, playing for the Edmonton Oilers, and they're looking at him and they're saying all these derogatory things, and it's like, you know what? That doesn't define me. It's a part of who I am. It's a very important part of who I am. But I'm a person with a hockey stick in my hand and I got skates on. I'm a hockey player. I'm not this type of hockey player. I'm not that type of hockey player. I am a hockey player. So in terms of the statements that you say in terms of be a man, first you need to go back to what is a man, right? So then we're getting into gender politics and identities and that sort of stuff. And for me, I was fortunate enough in my degree in dramatic arts to study gender identities and stuff like that in theater. And one of the things that people have misconceptions about is the difference between gender and sex. They're two very different things, but they're used interchangeably, right? So when you hear about people having, baby showers, and they call them gender reveal parties, well, you're not revealing the gender of the baby. You're revealing the sex of the baby.
I remember you say that in grade 9 to us.
That's exactly, So the best way that I learned about it when I was in university, when my professors were talking to me about it, because we have to take these and we have to apply them to different plays and things like that. So when you're developing these characters, it's really important that you understand everything about these characters, and specifically the difference between sex and gender.
Yeah.
So, the simplest way that I can put it is your sex is what's in between your legs,
Yeah.
and your gender is what's in between your ears,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's all of the things that you think about, that you say, that you do, how you represent yourself in the world.
Okay.
So it's the clothes that you wear, it's the music that you listen to, it's the food that you eat, it's the things that you watch on television, it's your hobbies, it's your likes, it's your dislikes, it's the way that you wear your hair, it's the way that you tie your shoes, like it's the way that you think about yourself, it's the way that you think about other people. So when people sit there and they say, there's all these different gender identities and those sorts of things, and categorizing things like that, it's strange to me because people are just going off of what other people are saying. But if you investigate for yourself and educate yourself on what these things actually are, what you actually realize is there are two sexes, male and female. The amount of genders that there are in the world is the amount of people that there are in the world. So your gender is Prabh. It's everything that you are and everything that makes up you. My gender is Mr. DaCosta. So it's everything about me. It's the car that I drive. It's the route that I take to work. It's the things that I do with my dog, and the way that I, the food that I eat, the things that I say to people in the hallway. Like, it's how you present yourself to the world. Okay? And your social media platform is a part of it. Right? It's how you represent yourself. So I think when a lot of people are confused about that sort of thing, I think they need to look at it and ask themselves, is my social media platform a true representation of who I am? And if it's not, is it who I want to be? Or is it who I want people to think that I am? Right? And I think that's a really important distinction that I think people need to make. So in terms of sports, when you hear people say, be a man, well, a man is just your sex. That's just a part of a really small part of who you are. So when people say that, I'm really confused because I don't actually know what that actually means and what their intentions are when they say something like that.
And I think this conversation we're having right here is very important for not only just me, but for everyone to hear. Right? And I guess social media and this platform right here was one of the ways that I thought would be best to connect with different guys and different people around our community. But like, if you have any feedback for us, or like any sort of other factor we can use to get more guys to start opening up about how they're feeling or how they're doing.
I think it's been built up by society, or it's a learned behavior, and it's like racism. Racism is a learned behavior. It's taught, and then it's learned, and then it's applied. Well, if we stop teaching it that way, and we don't learn these things, then there's nothing to discuss. If we're always promoting diversity and acceptance and tolerance and understanding and these core values that make us human, that make us people, I think that that's essentially what social justice is. That's what we're working towards, to creating equality and opportunities for everyone in every aspect of who we are. As individuals, as people, when we look at sports, when we look at careers, when we look at parenting as well. We're seeing a big shift in terms of parenting because we're seeing a big shift in the working world. Right? Like, I don't know, like 40, 50 years ago, like the man of the house was the one that worked, and then the woman was the one that did all the cooking and cleaning and took care of the kids and that sort of stuff, and the man was there to provide financially for the family. Well, there's a lot of families out there that have two males as parents or two females as parents. So how does that work? Right? And the way that the economy has grown in terms of financial growth, it's not feasible anymore for just one parent to be working, right? Which again is absolutely amazing for those single family homes. I have no idea how they do what they do, but they make it work because it's what you have to do to provide for your family. You do what you have to do to give your kids the best life possible. And no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you make the sacrifice, right? When you have a child, nothing else matters, right? And I think someday, if that's in the cards for you someday, that's something that you're going to learn, right? Something pretty special, something very important, and it's a great lesson that you learn by doing. Right? So, I
think that was a great way to wrap this up.
Okay, all right, yeah. Did you have any other questions or anything that you wanted to go off of, or?
Well, I think I really enjoyed this, because this was meant to be just like an interview type thing.
It takes me back to grade 9 when I taught you, right? Where we created this inclusive classroom in religion expressed through visual art, where we created a safe space where you guys could all ask me anything. Right? And I think that's what I love about our school community is the diversity of it, and that's why I love teaching religion in a school like this. Like we had one or two kids in the class that were practicing Roman Catholics. And to me, that's a great opportunity for everyone to learn. Right? Like you don't take world religions until you get to grade 11, but look at the classroom that we're in. It's a classroom of world religions, right? So why not explore that through Catholicism, right? And then we sit there and we're like, okay, this is what's going on here in Roman Catholicism. These are how our liturgies work, our rituals work, our prayer works. Well, what's your culture like? What about your belief system? Let's learn about that too, right? Let's find out the similarities and differences. And again, I think the most important thing that we learn from grade 11 world religions is the fact that the religions themselves, they're more similar than they are different.
They are, yes.
And I think if we, as people, not only accept those religions, but look in terms of people and who we are, we find that we ourselves are a whole lot more similar than we are different. And I think if we look at it that way, the world's going to be a pretty sweet place to live someday, right?
Absolutely.
All
right. Thank you so much.
Happy Friday, Prabh. Have yourself a good weekend, and let me know how the rest of your assignment goes, okay, bud?
Thank you.
Perfect, thanks.